Yes, Agnes, I guess we are now live on YouTube.
Okay. A very warm welcome to our podcast on Soul Talk. I'm Agnes Cruz Rajesh, your host, and today we are having a conversation with Elvis De Silva to discuss the intriguing topic of religiosity and spirituality. Elvis is an experienced trainer and coach, and he has had varied life experiences in this regard and is here to help us navigate the differences and connections between these two topics. Religiosity refers to the practices, rituals, and beliefs associated with organized religion. It often involves community participation and adherence to specific doctrines. On the other hand, spirituality is a more personal journey of seeking meaning, purpose, and connection. It can be independent of any religious framework, and is often focused on inner experience and personal growth. Elvis will share his insights on this topic and with reference to his own life experiences, how it can influence our lives and what they can mean to an individual. This conversation will offer valuable perspectives on how these aspects shape our understanding of life and ourselves. So, let's dive into this fascinating discussion. Welcome, Elvis. We are excited to hear your thoughts on this topic.
Good evening,
So,
Agnes, and thanks for those wonderful words.
most welcome.
I'm all
So,
excited to discuss and share on this topic.
yes. So, let's begin with this question. What
Mhm.
do you believe is the fundamental difference between religiosity and spirituality?
So see, religiosity is a means that should lead towards spirituality. Yeah. Uh, they both go parallelly hand in hand. Yes, they both need to work simultaneously, and they need to complement each other rather than contradicting each other. So, religiosity is a means towards an ends. They are not opposites. They are, like the siblings of the same parent. Yeah. So once again, I would say religiosity is a means that should lead a person, that should help a person to reach that stage of, a spiritual being, the highest being of oneself.
Okay. So, what ways do you think it can manifest in people's lives? Like, how can religiosity manifest in people's life? And also, how can it be expressed outside religious practices? Like, can you tell me how spirituality can be expressed outside religious practices?
Yes, so spirituality basically, spirituality is, in the simple words, to say being a good human being, having that right disposition towards the other, being sensitive, being empathetic. Yeah. So that is all about being spiritual. And religiosity, whatever practices we may have, whatever rituals that we have, whatever traditions that we have, are nothing but, like exercises. Like when we go to a gym and we do a particular exercise, it helps us to build that muscle. It helps us to be healthy. It helps us to be strong. So similarly, religiosity, the various practices of religiosity, okay, they only help a person to build that spiritual muscle of being spiritual, of being a good human being. So, irrespective whether a person, at times religiosity could lead to spirituality, at times it's not necessary to be religious to be spiritual. A person, even without doing any religious practices, can be spiritual. But yes, religiosity helps to be spiritual. On the other hand, at the same time, religiosity could also work the other way around. people might get stuck in being religious. People might get stuck in being religious, and it becomes a block for them to be spiritual. Because now this happens when, a person does not understand the true meaning of religiosity. Why to be religious? Why are we doing these practices? When the why of doing that practice is not clear, people tend to take things literally. So, for example, if it may be a spiritual text, whatever spiritual text of any religion, if a person takes it literally, it becomes a block for them to reach that stage of spirituality. Yes. And therefore, I always say that any spiritual text, no matter which religion that is, you know, it's not just for knowledge, it is to be pondered. A person need not only read it to get knowledge, a person needs to ponder on those texts, because these religious texts have two layers. One is a surface layer, and one is the deeper layer. So the surface layer, when we only get the surface layer, we tend to practice it literally. But when we understand its true meaning, then we go beyond. And that is when a person becomes spiritual, when he understands the true meaning of those practices.
So, what I'm understanding is that to become spiritual, you need to understand the true meaning of what comes from being religious, isn't it? So, but can
Right.
anyone become spiritual without being religious? And the other way, just being religious, following only the practices.
Can you come again, please?
So, can someone be spiritual without being religious at all? He's not following anything, any religion, any value system. Okay. And no practices are done in his life. So, what would that be like? Just being spiritual.
True, that is also possible. Yeah. Uh, for example, in my own experience, I have seen so many people. Yeah. Now, this is not to discourage people who are being religious. Being religious is very good, provided it takes you to that stage of being spiritual. But in my observation, I have seen so many people. Yes, they are doing all the possible religious practices. Yes, all the possible religious practices are being followed on that particular time, in that number of frequency. Yes, uh, but but when it comes to practicing that religiosity, these are the same people who are on the backbench, who are on the back seat. And there are people who do not practice religiosity, who are not doing any kind of this stuff, but still they are being that they are being truly human. They are very sensitive, they are empathetic towards people, they reach out to people. Yes. So it's not necessary that we need to do some religious practices in order to be spiritual. Even without having any religious practices, one can be spiritual.
Okay. So, now that we have various religions which are a guiding path to all the individuals, everyone finds their path to one religion. What do you think are the common misconceptions people have about being religious or spiritual?
Yes, so many times we use this term interchangeably, right? Because we are not clear what is the difference between being religious and being spiritual. So sometimes a person who is praying a lot, who is fasting, who is observing all the commandments of their particular religion, following all the traditions, calls themselves spiritual, calls themselves spiritual, which can be true if they're implementing and showing that in their relationships, if they're showing that in their work. Yes. So if they're not doing that, they're just being religious. They're only being religious. They have got stuck on the means. They have still not reached the end.
Hmm.
But there are people, and therefore, even in Catholic religion, in the Bible, it is said, blessed are the ones who also practice what they preach. Yes. Theirs is the kingdom of God, because these people just do not only preach, but they are also practicing. So, in other words, it is saying that they are being religious at the same time they are being also spiritual, and that is what is needed. It needs a balance. Now, I do not say that uh, you know uh, you should not be religious. Yes, you should be religious. I'm repeating this every time. You should be religious so that people do not take whoever is listening to this podcast. Please do not take this in the wrong sense. I am not at all discouraging being religious. Being religious is fantastic. It is wonderful, but it should lead to the final goal. It should lead to the final aim of being spiritual.
Yeah, well said, Elvis. So, ultimate goal should be spiritual, be in unison with the goodness that there is, isn't it?
Right.
So, in your opinion, Elvis, can you tell me how do religious institutions contribute to nurturing or potentially hindering spirituality? So I hear that okay, because this particular institution belongs to this, religion. So probably they are influencing the minds of the students and the people. So how do you think this contributes towards hindering spirituality itself?
See, spirituality in the end should broaden the horizons of a person. Yeah, it should broaden the horizons of the person and not compress it. So at times, some teachings or some institutions might compartmentalize spirituality, which in a sense is not true spirituality. Because spirituality is something where you embrace the entire humanity as your religion. Yes, there is no me, there is no you, it is us. So sadly, religion has been misunderstood in the history as well. People have compartmentalized, people have taken religious texts very literally. Yes. And therefore, I was just before getting on this podcast, I was just, doing some research on how many people have lost their lives in wars. So the number is that I got from, GPT. I was just trying to GPT this. Yeah. And the number that I got is 20 crore. 20 crore people have died in wars. And out of those, 10 crore people were killed. 10 crore people lost their lives in religious wars.
Yeah.
They have lost their lives in religious wars. Now, do you think, can any god of any religion teach you to kill someone?
Yeah.
Can any god, can any religion do that? No. No religion teaches you to kill the other person. No religion teaches you to destroy the temple of some other religion and build yours. Yes. No religion teaches you that. Why is this all happening? It is only because our misinterpretation. And the misinterpretation is taking the texts literally, taking the text literally. So spirituality makes, it's like it makes you a parachute. It makes you that hot air balloon where you are completely open and then you can rise up to the sky. It helps you get rid of all the biases. It makes you more loving. It makes you more embracing, more appreciative of the other.
Absolutely well said, Elvis. It makes you a better human being ultimately. So my next question is, how do you think a person can practice spirituality on his own, and how does it differ in cultures and religions? How does the practice of spirituality differ across culture and religion?
See, the ways of manifesting spirituality might be different based on different cultures, but at the end, there is a common thread. See, it's like a garland, right? It's like a garland. You have the same common thread, but the flowers can change. At times you can use marigold, at times you may use rose, you may use any other flower. Yeah. But the thread is the same. It's a thread. So the thread of spirituality, whether it's any religion, any culture, it's being a good human being. It's being a good human being. It's about serving the other. It's keeping the other before self. And that is a basic attitude of spirituality.
Right,
Spirituality is not destroying the other for yourself, but it is you sacrificing something for the other.
right, right. So sacrifice is, I think, important here, where you look at the well-being of others also above yours. Sometimes that plays a big role in your spiritual journey, isn't it?
Right? Right?
Um, okay. So tell me, Elvis, can spirituality exist without belief in a higher power? If so, how do you think it can exist?
Believing in a higher power will always help. Yeah, because you know that there is someone who's looking at you. Yes, there is someone, whether any person is not looking at you, but you always have that consciousness that there is someone, there is a higher power, there is a supreme power, okay, that is looking at you. So that way it definitely helps. It definitely helps in, aligning your moral compass that is within you, your conscience. Yes, and that helps you to judge what is right, what is wrong. It helps you to have that, internal locus of control, whether what you're doing is morally right or is it morally wrong. So definitely, believing in a higher power, okay, believing in God will definitely help you lead a good life, but
Absolutely.
with a true understanding. Again, if
Mhm.
that same thing is misunderstood, if the same thing is taken literally, it could work the other way around. Now, so
Right.
many people, I would not like to take the name of any particular sect, but at times people think that they are serving God by destroying others, you know, by creating chaos in the society. And they have the understanding that they are doing good, they are serving God. Now, even if a person does not believe in a higher power, yeah, he can still be a good human being. He can, still be doing a lot of good to the society, to the people. But again, this could only be an act, an external gesture without the right disposition. So always having in mind that there is someone, there is a higher power, there is God who's looking at you, having that belief will definitely help you to have the right disposition, not just actions, but right disposition. Yes, I can do many things externally without the right disposition. So a spiritual person, it's not more about action. It's not more only about action. It is more about disposition, doing the act with the right disposition.
So if you are actually doing any act with the right disposition, I'm sure you will get auto navigated towards your path in spirituality, and probably you're taking it through religiosity, isn't it?
Right. So as I said, I already gave that example of a gym.
Mm,
Religiosity is just doing that exercise,
mm,
which will help you build that muscle,
true.
yeah, which will help you be strong. So gymming is like a means, and
Correct,
having a strong body, being fit, being healthy, is like the end.
true.
So religiosity is a means, and spirituality is an end.
Very well said, Elvis. So there is always a means to an end, right? So Elvis, you are a Catholic, a follower of Jesus. So, according to you, was Jesus religious or spiritual?
Good question. So I would say Jesus was perfectly religious and perfectly spiritual. So he would have his prayers, he followed all the traditions. At times, he also broke the law, but he broke the law, he broke the religious practice in order to fulfill that the intention of for which that religious practice was set. Yes. For example, on a Sabbath day, it was not allowed to heal. But why were those rules made? In order to for more harmony, in order to be more organized, in order to follow God. But he broke the law. He healed the person even on a Sabbath. Because he says, who for what are the laws? Laws are for the people, for the person, for the human, not human for the law. Yes. So at times we too get caught up in rules. We get very much caught up in rules. Yes. For example, the other day I just gone with my wife and we were purchasing in Maharashtra we have this vada pav very famous vada pav. It's bread and uh, vada which is made of potatoes. So she's allergic to maida. She's allergic to maida. And so I requested the vendor, that please do not give me the bread, only give me the potato, the vada. But he said, no, sir, sorry, I cannot give. It's a rule that, we cannot give only vada. We need to give it with pav. I said, you charge the same, no worries. But you give me only the vada. He said, no. So what do you think was this? So the person, the vendor was hardwired. He got very stuck to the rule, not understanding the person who's standing in front of him. That if he has this maida, okay, it will affect his health. So here, a spiritual person would break the rule, in order to fulfill the rule. And that is what Jesus did. So therefore, I say Jesus was fully religious as well as fully spiritual.
Very well said, Elvis. And I'm sure this also can be applied to various other religions also, of what people believe and what people practice, provided
Okay.
they understand their practices well, right? Because I have seen people who have practices, rituals, and they do not know the meaning of it. It's just an act.
So
You
I'll
know
just
the
give an
meaning.
example. Okay. The other day I had gone to the church for Sunday Mass. Yeah. And I saw two people very pious, just right sitting in front of me, very piously praying. And the impression I got, oh my God, so holy people sitting in front of me, saints to be canonized in the coming
Okay.
years. Yeah, but then there was a couple of other faith who came in, and they did not know they were speaking. They were not aware. So these two, the same two people who I thought were, so holy, so spiritual, started yelling, shouting at them, insulting them. Now, what do you think? Were these people religious or spiritual?
I think they were religious
Yes, they
because
were
they were just
religious. A true spiritual person would be
not.
more understanding, would
Yeah.
be more compassionate, would have been more empathetic. Oh, they are newcomers, they do not know. They do not know how to behave. Let's gently and politely correct them.
True.
Yes.
Yes.
So you'll find many people are stuck at this stage of being religious. They are
Mm.
stuck there. They're stuck. They're
Correct.
not able to, elevate themselves beyond religiosity,
Correct.
beyond religion. They're very happy in doing the religious practices. Very happy. Very, 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 very happy. But they're not able to, rise above that level.
True. 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 Well said. So, keeping this in mind, I would like to ask you a personal question. So, how has your journey influenced both your religiosity and spirituality? How did you balance it?
Yeah. So see, at times it is a challenge. Yes. Even for me, even when, at times even I too get stuck in being very religious. Yeah. I too get very, because as adults, we get very hardwired. We get very hardwired in doing the same things at the same time in the same manner. You'll see people sitting at the same place to do that particular thing. If they change it, they feel uncomfortable. They feel like fish out of water. So being religious is somewhere connected to this of being hardwired. Yeah, we get stuck. We get stuck on that particular thing. And I too was somewhere in that. But gradually, this comes in with experience. This comes in with, growth in being a little more mature, growth in being a little more understanding why this text has been written. Yes, pondering over it, pondering over it. And therefore, I recommend every religion, persons, people who are, very inclined towards being religious, towards being spiritual, that do not just read these articles, do not just read them, but ponder over them. Try to understand what is that deep meaning. Why was this text written? in what context was this text written? Try to understand that, because whatever text was written had been written in some context, yes, in some situation, which might have changed today, today, and therefore contextualizing is very important. Contextualizing is very important. That is what has helped me. This understanding has helped me to rise above that level of religiosity.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you whether you had any experience in your
Hmm.
life and there was a conflict between your religious belief and your spiritual,
Yeah, so
you know.
at times I would, be very hardwired of, spending that time in prayer at that particular time, even if there was something very urgent to be catered to. Yeah. So, uh, yeah, I was in that stage, but then I understood, I need to be flexible. I need to understand and not be, very hardwired. At the same time, now here always there is a thin line. Yes, always there is a thin line. Sometimes just in, to be spiritual, I may compromise on some religious practices. Yes, I may compromise. I may take it as an excuse. Oh, I'm being spiritual now, so why I need to, spend this time in prayer. I'm being spiritual now. I'm very spiritual. I help people. I do so much of good. I do charity. So why do I need to, now I am a Catholic. So why do I need to pray rosary? Why do I need to go for mass? Yes. So therefore, going to both the extremes is not very good. Having that right balance, And therefore, when you asked me about Jesus, I say he was an ideal, a purest human being who understood this balance, and who was a fully religious as well as fully spiritual.
Well said. I do see that too. Like Jesus was absolutely spiritual and religious in the same, in the same length. Okay, so we've understood the personal choices that a person needs to make, viewing religiosity and spirituality, and keeping a balance so that you're not blinded
You see, if
completely.
this balance is not there, na Agnes, if this balance is not there, a person enters into another category called as being fanatic.
Right.
These people are fanatics. Yeah,
Mm.
they go to an extreme. And this is again what I said before, what I said earlier. They
Mm.
take these texts literally. They take
Right.
this text literally. Now, what does taking literally mean? Like, for example, in the Bible, if Jesus says, if your, eye makes you to, if your hand makes you to sin, cut it off before going to heaven. Now, does he really mean that to cut it off? No. Jesus is just trying to convey like how serious it is, how conscious you have to be when, you know, before doing something that is wrong.
Yeah.
That is the meaning. That is the interpretation. Yeah,
Right.
that is the interpretation.
So, do you think that many people lack understanding in what is actually professed in the scriptures, in all the scriptures for that matter? It is misinterpreted, right? And there is a whole pool of people who are moving away from organized religion, and they are, they say we don't need religion and we will become more spiritual people. This is also
Hmm.
happening. We see a trend in the world right now. We don't need
Right.
religion. We'd rather be spiritual, do good, be good. So why do you think this is happening in the world, right?
See, again, we need to understand, religiosity is like, rule based or some practice based or tradition based. Now, we need to understand that. For example, in a game of football, if there are rules, yeah, if there are rules that you hurt someone, you'll get a red card. There are
Right.
rules that only when, this is the frame. If you go outside of this, the game gets suspended. You need to restart. Yes, there is a particular area which is called as a goal post. Only when the ball goes inside there, you get a goal, you get a point. So all these rules, what do you think? Are they to make the life of that player miserable, or are they to make that game more enjoyable? What do you think?
definitely to make the game more enjoyable. So
Yes,
that is where rules are put in
to
place.
make the game more enjoyable,
Correct.
to make the entire what do you say, the entire experience more organized, more systematic, yes, more fair. And therefore, people who are not, who, try to rebel or try to keep away from religious practices, need to first understand why are these practices in place. Yes, they need to first understand that. And yes, if they understand, they will also understand what needs to be followed, what need not be followed.
Right.
Because what I said, and I'll repeat again, contextualizing is very important if we want to be spiritual beings.
True. Okay. So obviously that means a person needs to understand both. So can you tell us how are there any ways that a person can figure out his thoughts, his feelings? Like, is there any kind of exercise or activity that he can do to, understand better?
Yes, so as I said, uh, pondering on such texts,
Mhm.
finding out the meaning of such rules. And if they are not, competent enough, if they feel they're not very clear, not confident, they need to approach a person who has a clarity. Maybe a spiritual guide whom they can
Correct.
go to and he can explain them the meaning of, that text. Now, provided the spiritual guide is a balanced person. Now,
That's
at
true.
times, it can also happen that spiritual guide themselves are misleading the people. Yes, they can become, they can mislead the entire tribe. They can mislead the entire tribe. And therefore, people need to have their own internal locus of control. They need to have their own moral compass in place, that whether what I am doing is right or wrong. Because at times people blindly follow the spiritual gurus. Yes, they blindly follow whatever commands they give, and they, completely destroy the meaning of religiosity, of being spiritual. And
Right.
this has happened in history. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
spiritual gurus, spiritual leaders themselves have misguided the people.
True. Yeah,
And
I
people are misguided there because they have a very high regard for them. Whatever they say is like, is like something written on the stone which cannot be rubbed.
Mhm.
And they follow blindly. They follow
Correct.
blindly. So every person has, a spiritual guru inside of them, has a internal locus of control inside of them, provided they sit with him, they sit with that guru.
Correct.
Yes, and that can happen if they spend a me time. They can spend a time in isolation, cut off from the world, cut off from the noise of their work, cut off from all the chaos and, daily rituals, daily duties. Spend some time with yourself. As even Swami Vivekananda has said, yeah, if you do not spend 5 minutes with yourself in a day, you have missed meeting a VIP. You have missed meeting a VIP. Yes. So, a very important disclaimer that you need to go to the right person. You not need to go to the right person, a spiritual guru whom you really feel is balanced, who is really spiritual, not just religious. Yes. At
Correct.
times, it can be misguiding just by looking at the external appearances, external dress, external vestments that a person is wearing, and you feel this person is very spiritual. No, that is religiosity. That is just an external sign of religiosity. Yes, spirituality is something that is very deep. It is something very deep.
Well said. I also notice one more aspect when we look at spirituality and religiosity. So, fear plays a big role.
Mm,
Sometimes people are so scared that if I don't do this, I will go to hell, I will do this will happen to me. Or sometimes even religious leaders say if you don't put money in the hundi, then this bad thing will happen to you. It happens across all religions.
right.
So, what do you think is the role of fear? Like, how can someone, erase fear from their life? Fear of being, following religious practices without understanding.
Yes. So you must have heard about cases right? Some people go to some spiritual guru, and that spiritual guru tells them, you do this, you sacrifice this particular thing, and people blindly do it. They even sacrifice other human beings. I had gone to one place in the north, okay, that was somewhere Chhattisgarh or somewhere in the forest area. It was an Naxalite area. And there I was told, Elvis, do not go in the night out, because
Mhm.
here people follow some practices, they follow some guru, who asks them for a human sacrifice. And there have been cases where they have beheaded people. Yes. So Elvis, do not go out in the dark. Please be in the house. Do not be too
Okay.
adventurous. Yeah. So that is what happens. Yes. Fear. Out of fear, people do something that is not good. That
Correct.
is not good. But now, saying that all fear is not bad, there is also something called as holy fear. Yes.
Okay.
There is something also called as holy fear. Yes.
Okay.
So if a person has a fear that if he does not pray, yes, yeah, he would know something bad may happen to him. Now, this fear, in a way, is good, which will help him to do something good that will lead him to spirituality.
Okay.
Maybe praying, spending some time in prayer, that fear. Yes. Now,
Okay.
again, we need not go in both the extremes. We need not pray so much that we do not do any work. Yeah. We do not do so much of work that we do not even have time to pray. So, in the
Hmm.
Bible, there is a very beautiful example of Mary and Martha. Yeah, Mary
Yes.
is sitting at the feet of Jesus. Yes, he's contemplating, listening to his words. Martha is there busy in the kitchen doing some work. But in life, we need to play both the roles. We need to have a balance. So, in the Carthusians, the priests who live a very, a monk kind of a life in restricted to an area, they have a rule of 888. 888 is 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep, and eight
Okay.
hours of prayer. Yes.
Yeah.
Even Saint Paul in the Bible, he says, show me your faith through your actions.
Okay.
Just faith without actions is,
Mhm.
with just faith without actions is, what do you say, like a fruit without any nutrition in it.
Okay. Okay. But
So balance is most important.
balance is the most important. So, Elvis, I'm sure every person has some experience in their life which has been influenced by their personal religiosities, which has opened the path and taken them towards spirituality, right?
Hmm.
And I'm sure in your life too, there must have been lots of instances, right? So,
Hmm.
how do you think you would like to bring it out as as a message, as a story for for your audience to connect with or to be enlightened?
Hmm. I didn't quite get the question. Can you maybe simplify it a little? If you
So
could
your
make it. Yeah.
you would have had lots of life experiences
Yes.
based on your religiosity
Right.
and your spirituality, which I understand from this podcast is pretty balanced, right?
Hmm.
So, is there anything that you're doing to bring it out for the audiences, for the public, so that even they can better understand themselves? Like I heard you are writing a book
Hmm.
about your life experiences too. Are you
Hmm.
including it?
Right. So see, religiosity, as I said, my experiences have been that at times when you're only being religious, yes, your subconscious is always a monitor who tells you what you're doing right and wrong. Yes, it's like a weighing scale. So uh, at times that is you like the police which tells you that Elvis, you are going to another extreme. Yes, you're going to another extreme. So at times I would only pray and I would not do my work, which again is, a person needs to be very careful, which I got into. Yes, I got into. So spirituality will lead you to a holistic development. It will not make you, a one-sided person. Like for example, again, I would take the example of gym. A person who's going for gym and he's only developing his upper body, but his lower body is, I call it a hen growth. It is like a hen. Yeah, it's like a stick down and on top it's swollen. So your your religiosity, my prayer life should lead me to become more fruitful. It should lead me to not just become a person of God, but also a person of people. So it is this, it is like the cross.
Mm.
It is vertical as well as horizontal.
Mm.
So at times I see people, okay, again I would say I go to a temple and I see people praying very hard, and after coming out, they do not look left, they do not look right to the people passing by. Yes, it's only this. It is only this. There is no this dimension to it, the horizontal dimension. So at times, even I was like that. But these experiences gradually lead to, the realization that I'm missing the horizontal dimension of being spiritual.
Wonderful. Uh, it was so wonderful talking to you and listening to your thoughts and ideas and about spirituality and religiosity. And I'm sure you found a very good balance in between, Elvis. So, how can our audience connect with you and learn more about your thoughts, your work? And I hear that you are out there helping people. You have your own philanthropic activities which you do in your community. So, can you tell us
Right.
about that?
Yeah, so see, we reach out to people, okay? So as every religion says that, okay, even if you take Islam, you take the other day I was speaking to one of my trainees who's, Punjabi, and even Guru Nanak has said, Daswa. There is some concept called as Daswa. That is 1/10. In the Catholic religion, it is called as tithe, 1/10. Give 1/10 of, give 1/10 of whatever you have. Not just money, not just money. Some people find it a very good escape to, give money and, your work is done. It is also about your time, because your life, whatever time you're spending here, is a gift of God.
Okay.
You could have been not existing right now. Right now, we could have not been speaking here on this podcast. We have been kept safe, we have been protected till now. There are many who were not that fortunate. So even the time, the 100% of time that we have belongs to God. The 100% of money that we have also belongs to God, because He has given us that capability of speaking, of thinking, of ideating, of executing it. It's
Right.
a blessing. So 100% of whatever income also comes is of God. Yes.
100%.
And
Yes.
therefore, we are not giving 10%. We are keeping the 90 and only giving the 10, because
True.
all 100% belongs there.
Right. Right.
Yes.
Well said.
So, coming to that question is that, you know, therefore, we reach out with 10% of whatever income we get on every fourth of every month. We give it out. We give it out to the people who are less privileged, who have less opportunities, who are less capable, maybe. Yeah. Now, this does not mean that we are not trying to make people handicaps. We are trying to, make them lame. This is just being considerate, because there are some people, yeah, there are some people who are not coming from the same level as we are, yeah, as we are fortunate to be. And therefore, it is our duty, our responsibility to help those people to come a little above that level, to just give that little push, that little, what you say, a fillip to their growth. So 1/10 is, every religion speaks of it. Every
Right.
religion speaks of it.
So, and that also satisfies your spiritual duties. It makes you
It
feel good in
not
your
only
heart and
satisfies,
soul.
but it also helps you from being, more attached.
Mm.
Because now you are in the habit of giving.
Mm.
So you are getting detached, and therefore detachment is one of the ingredients, one of the element of being spiritual. A spiritual person is happy if he has it. He's also happy if he does not have it. Yes, externals do not matter to him. Externals do not have power over him. He has the power on the externals.
Mm. Okay. Correct. Yes. So, thank you, Elvis. This was a wonderful conversation with you, and you shared so many of your thoughts and ideas on this topic, religiosity and spirituality. And I encourage the audience, if you would like to connect with Elvis, do write your comments in the chat, and I'm sure Elvis will come back to you with his answers. Right? So, thank you so much again, Elvis. It was great speaking
Thank
to
you,
you.
Agnes. You have been a
And
wonderful host.
yes, and Elvis, what is next now? This is Soul Talk, right? So,
Yeah,
what is next? What do you
this is we are
think?
going to discuss all light topics, everything related to behavior, our disposition, attitude, spirituality. So this was just the first topic on religiosity and spirituality. The next one is about discerning,
I see.
discerning what is right and what is wrong,
Uh-huh.
discerning what is right and what is wrong. Many of our corporate trainings, they have decision making skills, how to decide, how to be a good decision maker. But there is also a spiritual angle to it. How do you
Okay.
discern what is the best right thing to do? I would not say it would be 100% certain, but what is the best right thing to do? And that is going to be our next episode, coming Sunday, 7 p.m.
Sunday,
Coming Thursday.
Thursday.
Coming Thursday. Yes.
Yeah. So catch us live here on every Thursday at 7 p.m. on Soul Talk with Elvis. So with that, I sign off for tonight.
Thank you, Agnes. Thank you, all the audience. It was wonderful speaking on this topic. Bye.